Hello, Rob with a fountain pen review of a Reform fountain pen. It's a vintage fountain pen, and I believe that these are German. I think potentially West German. They go back to that time. And I have absolutely no idea what model this might be. I've tried to do a bit of research, but can't find a great deal of information about it. So it is a slim plastic fountain pen, all black, gold accents. Yeah, and it's a very classy looking fountain pen. Domed plastic cap, gold cap band, gold clip with Reform embossed in there with what I assume is the Reform logo, and this teardrop shaped ball end to the clip, which I don't find the clip is particularly awful or good. It's just kind of, yeah, serves its purpose. So I quite like the teardrop effect rather than just a straight ball at the end of the clip. Very straight cap and barrel down to gold band. There's nothing on any of these gold bands, and another plastic dome finial. Unscrew the cap, takes just less than 1.5 turns. Really long section, really very long section. So you can hold this way down there or way up here. These threads are quite smooth, they're not going to interfere with anything too much, and it's a really nice length. So unposted, decent enough length. It posts really well, quite deeply, and it becomes even longer, obviously. It is quite a decent length, but if you're into big pens, you may be disappointed with this, because this really is quite slim. I shall compare it with another German fountain pen, the Lamy 2000, and you'll see what I mean. Big difference in girth there. So maybe not a pen for you if you like thicker, girthier pens. The nib, I believe, is just steel, two-tone nib, nicely engraved, nice markings on there. Yeah, decent enough. And it is a cartridge converter filling system. You can't eyedropper this, and I have used the original converter that came with this pen. This was a second-hand pen, so it was vintage and second-hand, or third-hand, who knows. So yeah, decent enough pen. Let's have a look at how this pen writes, because I'm not over the top happy with this pen. I did do some nib adjustments. So all I'm going to do is call this a Reform, and as you can see, there are 1 or 2 skips here. Unknown model, and I'm going to assume that this is a medium nib. Can you see how inconsistent this writing is? I'm trying to write over the camera, and quick round fox jumps. Oops. Over the lazy dog. As you can see, horrible writing experience, but it is a nib which you can flex quite a lot of ink out of. It's not a flex nib, this is not a soft nib, but you go from not a lot of ink to a decent amount of ink. But I'm having to use quite a lot of pressure to squeeze out the ink which makes this pen write well. I mean, this is no pressure, more pressure. No pressure. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a vintage pen collector. I'm not a vintage pen user particularly. And this is just a stain. It is just a steel nib as far as I'm aware. It's smooth enough. I have no issues with how smooth it is, but you know, no pressure whatsoever. And it seems a little bit on the dry side. This is no pressure whatsoever. Doesn't keep up very well. I apply pressure. World of difference. But it is not a flex nib. Bear in mind, this is definitely not a flex nib. But it's interesting how just that little bit of extra pressure can turn this from being what I'd consider to be a dry pen rather than a fine nib. It's definitely a medium nib, and you can actually get this sort of variation. Reverse writing is smooth but dry, and I can't obviously push that any further. Excuse the dogs, that'll be the postman bringing some more stuff. So, any advice, any indication what my viewers can tell me about this Reform fountain pen? I'll leave it there so you can see it. I mean, it's nice enough. It's quite slim. It's a little bit slim compared to what I would prefer in a pen of this length. It just feels a little bit too narrow. But it's a good pen. It's not a great pen. It's certainly not one that I will be inking up regularly. But it's interesting to see, you know, how a vintage pen like this writes. And I find that this example here with no pressure and more pressure is really, really interesting. I mean, I'm not going to push this nib any further because it isn't a flex nib anyway. I mean, this is what I would consider to be moderate pressure, and we are getting the odd skip. If I write with moderate pressure, it doesn't keep up particularly well, but it does write. So it's just an interesting video for those of you who like vintage fountain pens. If you happen to like vintage fountain pens, please do also leave me a comment down below, especially if you've got any information about what this Reform fountain pen might be, because I'd really appreciate that. And let me know if you like vintage fountain pens, if you enjoy vintage fountain pen reviews, because I do have a few vintage pens which I can review for my channel if you're interested in seeing those. So thanks very much for watching. Do give me a like and subscribe if you find that this video was useful and you enjoyed it, and let me know your thoughts about this pen. I'm not sold on it personally. It was a cheap second-hand purchase. Came with another pen from the same seller, so you know, I'm not going to be, you know, heartbroken about the quality of this pen. It's just an interesting one for my collection. So thanks very much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Bye.